Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today we're diving right into a truly wild matchup from the 2026 WNBA season. We are putting that unbelievable July 12th clash between the Washington Mystics and the Seattle Storm under the microscope. If you love a late-game surge, oh man, you are going to absolutely love this breakdown. We're going to pull apart the exact anatomy of this comeback. We'll look at how a game that seemed completely, and I mean completely, in Seattle's control just flipped on its head in the final minutes. Through the data, the box scores, and the real-time tactical shifts, we'll see exactly how Washington pulled off this massive home victory.
16-4. Just think about that for a second. With under 9 minutes left on the clock in the fourth quarter, the Mystics were staring down a 70-64 deficit. The Storm had been controlling the lead for most of the game, right? They even had a 9-point advantage early on. But over the next 5 minutes, Washington completely flipped the script. They unleashed a devastating 16-4 run to snatch the momentum right out of thin air, ultimately locking down an 84-79 victory. That sequence right there, that is literally the entire story of the game condensed into one brutal, highly efficient stretch of basketball.
Now, this game was essentially a tale of two halves for Seattle, and you really just have to look at Natisha Hiedeman to see why. For 3 quarters, she was absolutely unguardable. I mean, she exploded for a career-high 31 points, shooting an incredibly efficient 14 of 24 from the floor. She was the absolute engine keeping Seattle ahead. But then in the fourth quarter, right when the game was on the line, she just vanished. She managed only 4 points in that final frame. Washington's defense made this super aggressive adjustment, forcing the ball right out of her hands, and, well, the Storm's offense simply had no backup plan.
Now contrast Hiedeman's late-game feed with what Washington's center Shakira Austin was doing. If you look at her historical data, Austin is always a huge problem for Seattle. She averages a really solid 14.8 points and 8.2 rebounds over her career matchups with them. But today, she totally leveled up. She dropped a massive 27 points on 10 for 18 shooting. When Washington desperately needed a stabilizing force to spark that dramatic rally, Austin was the one demanding the basketball and just punishing the interior defense.
And we're not talking about empty stats here either. This was as clutch as it gets. Austin scored 10 of her 27 points in that fatal fourth quarter alone. Remember that critical 16-4 run we talked about? Yeah, she accounted for 8 of those points all by herself. That included this huge, momentum-shifting, old-fashioned three-point play, and she even stepped out to hit a massive three-pointer. She was an absolute weapon when it mattered most, totally neutralizing Seattle's defense inside.
Okay, but we really can't talk about Washington's surge without looking at Seattle's collapse. Like, how do you lose a lead that fast? Well, honestly, you give it away. Across the first 3 quarters, Seattle played relatively clean, committing 11 turnovers. Not great, but manageable. But in the fourth quarter alone, they committed 9 turnovers. Nearly half of their 20 total turnovers happened in the final 10 minutes of the game. Actually, get this, their 20th turnover happened with under a minute left when they had a chance to tie things up, down 82-79, and they just handed it over, letting Washington salt the game away.
And look, when the Storm weren't turning the ball over in the fourth, they were just flat out missing. Their offense completely stalled out under Washington's late-game pressure. They shot a miserable 29% from the field in the final frame. That's just 4 made shots on 14 attempts. You know as well as I do, you simply cannot win tight WNBA games shooting sub 30% in the fourth quarter while also throwing the ball away. The Mystics' perimeter defenders just clamped down, cut off the passing lanes, and forced Seattle into taking heavily contested, really low percentage looks.
This offensive stagnation highlights a really glaring issue for Seattle. Outside of Natisha Hiedeman having the night of her life, the rest of the roster struggled mightily. The rest of the team combined to make just 16 of their 46 field goal attempts. That is just 35% shooting for the supporting cast. Without any real secondary scoring to relieve the pressure, Washington was completely free to double-team Hiedeman late in the game, completely suffocating Seattle's primary threat.
So what does this all mean for Washington? Well, this gritty comeback wasn't just some lucky break. It is a massive proof of concept for the Mystics right now. This wasn't a team of aging veterans pulling this off. It was driven by Washington's retooled, youth-driven squad. Under second-year head coach Sydney Johnson, they've built this core of recent draft picks and rising stars. We're talking Kiki Iriafen, Sonia Citron, and rookie Lauren Betts, who, by the way, chipped in 11 points tonight. This win is a huge testament to Johnson's system. It proves these young players actually have the composure to win under intense pressure.
Let's zoom in on that youth movement for a second, starting with Kiki Iriafen. The 2025 number 4 overall pick was just a wall in the paint today. She totally anchored her team's interior presence with 12 points and an impressive 13 rebounds. That right there marks her 9th double-double of the 2026 season.
Paired up alongside Shakira Austin, man, Iriafen gives the Mystics this terrifyingly physical front court. They can just out-rebound and out-muscle you when the game slows down in the half court.
Out on the perimeter, we absolutely have to talk about Sonia Citron. After missing a couple of games with a minor knee ailment, she returned to the lineup and, wow, didn't miss a single beat. Citron was out there dictating the perimeter offense, pouring in 19 points on a super-efficient 7 for 13 from the floor, plus she was the one who calmly stepped right up to the free throw line in those final, tense moments to sink the shots that officially put the game completely out of reach for Seattle.
Now, to be totally fair to Seattle, they did have one other bright spot, and we should definitely mention Dominique Malonga here. The All-Star was fighting so hard in the paint. I mean, in the first half, she and rookie Awa Farm literally combined for more fouls than points. Ouch. But despite that severe foul trouble, Malonga still managed to pull down 15 rebounds and score 10 points in just 22 minutes of action. It really does make you wonder how different this whole game might have played out if she could have just stayed on the floor without those foul constraints.
So, stepping back from the box score, let's look at the bigger picture with the 2026 WNBA standings. This hard-fought victory is huge for the Mystics. It pushes them above 500 to an 11-10 record, keeping them firmly planted in the number 8 spot and very much alive in the playoff hunt. On the flip side, this devastating collapse keeps the Storm stuck near the bottom of the league. Dropping to 6-19, Seattle is sitting at number 14, deep down in the standings, and they've got to be searching for some serious answers as the season rolls on.
Looking ahead, both of these squads are packing their bags. The Mystics are going to try and carry this huge momentum shift across the border, heading to Toronto on Tuesday to face the tempo. The Storm, meanwhile, they've got to shake off the sting of this fourth quarter collapse fast because they travel to Chicago on Wednesday to battle the Sky. You've got two teams on vastly different trajectories right now, which makes these upcoming road trips absolutely critical to their seasons.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway for this explainer. As Washington rides the incredible high of this spectacular 16-4 late-game surge, we've got to ask the million-dollar question. Does this youth-driven Mystics core actually have what it takes to conquer the Eastern Conference? We just watched Shakira Austin, Kiki Iriafen, and Sonia Citron execute flawlessly under pressure against a veteran star having a career night. So, just how far can this fearless, young roster climb as the playoffs approach? It is a fascinating question for sure, and watching them develop the rest of the year is going to be required viewing. Thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown, and keep your eyes on those standings.